What would happen if the sun exploded tomorrow? A huge ball of burning plasma that provides light and heat to our planet. This star is more than 400 times larger than Earth. It's hard to imagine how its explosion could affect our lives. But let's try. If the sun really did explode, all life on Earth would be instantly wiped out. The energy that this celestial body produces in just 1 second is equivalent to the power of 40 million of the most powerful bombs in history. Just think about it! The bomb that fell on Hiroshima during World War II had a capacity of 6.2 kilotons of TNT. Most powerful bomb ever created by man, the Tsar Bomba, had a capacity of 58 megatons of TNT. And yet both of them look like a modest sparkler compared to the sun. So what kind of explosion are we talking about? First, let's define what kind of an explosion it would be. The sun is a yellow dwarf. Scientists believe that the life cycle of stars depends on their mass. The more massive the star, the shorter its life. When it runs out of hydrogen, it dies! The smaller the star, the longer it lives. Our sun will live out its full life cycle in about 10 billion years. There are several scenarios for the death of a yellow dwarf. In the best case scenario, when the sun reaches the end of its life cycle, it will turn into a white dwarf. After that, it will continue to exist in the form of a black dwarf. But this process will take hundreds of billions of years. So rest assured that our descendants will not have to worry about this particular scenario. The worst case scenario is the sun becoming a red giant. This means that at some point it will start to collapse and expand, engulfing Mercury, Venus, and possibly Earth. If this happens, there won't be anything left of our planet. Another scary scenario is the sun suddenly becoming a supernova. The most common type of stellar explosion occurs in massive stars with a high content of hydrogen. When hydrogen runs out, the star collapses and rebounds, throwing its outer layers into space. If the sun becomes a supernova, its explosion will be clearly visible from Earth. Moreover, the radiation will destroy the ozone layer and burn the Earth. And finally, the last and the darkest scenario is the sun turning into a black hole. The smallest possible black hole is called a stellar black hole. It's formed after the collapse of a massive star. The intense pressure and high temperature deep inside the star causes protons and electrons to combine and form neutrons. Iron is the element with the highest atomic number that can occur naturally. When a star runs out of iron, it can no longer resist gravitational collapse. The core collapses and turns into a black hole. Black holes have immense gravity, but it doesn't extend beyond the event horizon. Anything that crosses this boundary cannot escape the black hole, not even light. If the sun becomes a black hole, it will keep pulling everything to itself, including Earth. However, it will do that gradually. Falling into a black hole is not an instantaneous process. It takes time. Okay, now let's assume that the sun explodes and turns into a black hole. How much time do we have before the disaster? To answer this question, we need to figure out how far the sun is from Earth. The distance between the sun and our planet constantly changes. Since Earth revolves around the sun in an elliptical orbit, the minimum distance is 91.4 million miles or 147.1 million kilometers, and the maximum is 94.5 million miles or 152.1 million kilometers. On average, the distance is 93 million miles or 150 million kilometers. At the speed of light, a signal from the sun reaches us in 500 seconds. However, humans won't be able to notice the explosion immediately, because the sun is so bright that its brightness will dazzle our eyes for several days. During this time, all living things on Earth will die. Plants will instantly wither, and humans and animals will go blind. But even after our eyes get used to the brightness, we still won't see the sun. Light won't be able to break through the dust raised by the explosion. During the first 5 minutes, the sun will pull the Earth closer to its hot and bright surface. The sky will become as bright as a welding arc. The Earth's atmosphere will start to glow. Under such conditions, people will be able to survive for no more than 15 minutes. At this point, the sun will swallow the Earth. And although this process will take a few hours, our planet will cease to exist. But what if the sun didn't explode, but simply started moving towards Earth? In this case, humanity would have approximately 120,000 years to prepare for the collision. It would take that long for the sun to approach our planet at a distance of 10 astronomical units. At that point, the Earth would face unprecedented challenges. First, the length of day and year would change. The length of a day would remain unchanged, since it depends on the rotation of the planet on its axis. However, the length of a year would change due to the fact that Earth revolves around the sun. If the distance between these two bodies decreases, the year will become shorter. For example, in 2022, the Earth revolved around the sun in 365.24 days. If the distance between the sun and the Earth becomes half as much, the year will last only 182.6 days. Then, the climate on Earth will change. Since the sun is the main source of light and heat for our planet, it's also responsible for climate change. If it moves closer, the Earth will start to get hotter. But if it moves away, it will start to get colder. In any case, these changes will be catastrophic since plants and animals aren't adapted to such conditions. Next, the orbits of planets will change. If the sun suddenly moves closer to Earth, its gravity will affect not only our planet, but also other celestial bodies revolving around it. The orbits of Mercury, Venus, Mars, and other planets will change. They will either move away from the sun or crash into it. By the way, this is exactly what happened to poor Mercury. Scientists believe that it once had a thick atmosphere. However, the sun moved closer to it and destroyed it. Now Mercury is a dead planet. Also, tides will change. Although the moon is primarily responsible for tides, the sun also has a certain influence. If it gets closer to Earth, tides will become higher. Floods may cover entire cities located near the ocean. But even all of these changes won't be as terrible as a series of earthquakes that will shake the planet. The Earth's crust isn't attached to its core in any way. It's actually a set of plates that move relative to each other. The movement of the sun will disrupt this balance, which will lead to earthquakes of unprecedented magnitude. As you can see, even if the sun doesn't explode, being so close to it is still fraught with many dangers. But what if the sun suddenly starts moving away? The consequences of this will be even worse. If the distance between the sun and the Earth increases by just 3%, our planet will face severe frosts. Plants will die and people will have to hide in shelters. But even there, you won't be safe from hunger and thirst since the sun is not only a source of heat, but also light. Without it, Earth won't be able to produce food. The oceans will freeze and water will become a luxury item. Humanity will have to use the water stored on other planets. Yes, I'm not kidding. There really is a plan to get water on Mars. NASA is already developing technologies to extract water from this planet. The essence of the process is to drill deep wells to reach underground water. It's believed that in the future, Martian water will be transported to Earth. Sounds fantastic, but scientists assure that this is quite feasible. If the distance between the sun and the Earth increases by 10%, droughts, strong winds, and frosts will begin on our planet. Within a few decades, the Earth will turn into a lifeless desert. And if the distance increases by 100%, the Earth's orbit will take it beyond the sun's gravity. Then our planet will fly into outer space and become an ice cube. And here's another twist. What if instead of the sun, it was the Earth that exploded? The consequences would be similar to those of a nuclear apocalypse. Fragments of our planet would scatter across the solar system. Some of them would fall into the sun, others would crash into other planets. The explosion would be seen from other planets as a bright flash of light. Perhaps that's how life on other planets began. Do you want to know more about it? Check out this video!